the effort from our guys. We looked at not just schematically what we were doing, but the fundamentals and details were there. But the effort, watching Josh score with everybody down there running in, we got back to kind of what we know we could do. We've been working on this for a few weeks, so hopefully we'll just continue to trend in the direction that we're going. Got a lot of guys involved. Ja played his butt off. I think J-Mo played his butt off. A lot of our guys played really, really well in this game. O-line just really answered the bell when we run the ball the way we ran. Loved the way they protected. I mean, it was just a good performance offensively and then defensively and special teams. We always do exactly what we have to do in those phases. Now it's glad for us to catch up right there a little bit and play a little bit better.
I think that was the
coverage question. You always talk about, the safety having to help with J-Mo over the top when he goes deep, right? But does the same apply, Scottie, when he's doing those crossers and he's beating his man? Does you always have, as a defense, you always have to look and help in that regard too? Because if you cover him man-on-man and he beats that guy, there's so much space afterwards. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's tough, though, because what's happening now is that if you kind of watch the coverage in that game, which I'm sure you guys did, they're now starting to play over the top of Saint in a different way, trying to squeeze him from the top and then play behind him. So now the space is being created underneath, like Leaf's catch, where there was a 15-yard easy catch. It was like, where's everybody at? It was because of the way they're playing him. So now what we're starting to see is if we do have J-Mo in some different places, sometimes it's hard to play him from over the top because of where Saint is, of course. So it creates it's creating some problems definitely there. But we do like having him in that position because of the run to catch and then putting Leaf in those type of positions, starting to get guys back to what I talked about before. We got to get back to, our run after catch like we had in the one game, 170, and being able to hit guys in movement type situations. So that was good to see. Yeah, so the coverage is, it is shifting and moving. You can feel, with Jamison, you can really feel J-Mo, the top of the coverage now, how much deeper they're playing, even from when we look at what we're watching on tape. So we are very aware of that.
Called plays last week. How, if at all, did that change things for you, like the preparation of the week, your game day responsibilities?
Yeah, we're always been really, really collaborative, right? So I think that the details came in more with us, like seeing a lot more of Dan, having him around a lot more during the week and being a lot more involved, of course, because he was going to be calling it. But collectively, between the guys that we have in the building, it didn't change a whole lot. Game day, is definitely changes just because, the play caller's on the field and he's right there and I'm having to communicate with him and we're having to communicate not only on the field, but we got to be careful because he has, a couple of big roles during the game where he's going offense, defense, special teams. So those things, when you have an opportunity to talk to him and talk to the play caller, you just got to pick your spots, just make sure he stays in his flow.
Just to go back to the receiving production from the wide receivers has been a little bit top-heavy just with Saint and Jamison. Do you feel like that would help them to maybe get some of the other guys a little bit more involved, or because you guys have so many weapons elsewhere on that offense, is it not really that much of a concern?
Well, they're all competitors, and we want to get everybody involved because this is a team sport. And, we were able to get, Leaf a little bit more involved in the game. Tess got a touch, even Jahmyr showing up in the passing game, and you got Sam doing what Sam does. But, it is tough when you think about all these deals, but that is what we were able to do, and it will help us. It's going to continue to help us. You can't just let, Leaf catch a 5-yard, check down and turn it into a 14, 15-yard gain. Just as a coordinator, if you're at the minus 40 and now you're at the minus 40 plus 45, that just quickly turns into points for you. So we will see some adjustments in coverage, and because these guys will continue to make plays, hopefully we'll see a little bit more single one-on-ones versus the doubles from inside. And then in our zone coverage, maybe we can just get guys, pull down on those check downs a little bit more and get behind some of those guys.
One of the phrases people use with attacking a defense is keeping them honest, and usually it's applied to deep shots, right? Is this an example of that, though? I mean, using your other weapons, does that keep them honest in the way they defend your top players?
Yeah, no doubt. I think also keeping them honest is using the things that we have in our motion system, in our run game. The linkage between our run game is probably as true to keeping them honest as being able to throw it over the top and then still be able to work all the intermediate areas. So the way that we build our, our run game and our passing game, just the collective of it all is really what keeps teams truly honest defensively.
Regarding JMO, I know he had the one wiped out on the penalty with the timing route before the bye, couple with the timing routes, the comeback routes this time, the growth of that aspect of his game, how much does that kind of open up everything that he can maybe accomplish on the field?
So that was what we were most proud of over the last, even when his production wasn't necessarily what a lot of people thought it should be and what he wanted to be and what we would have loved for it to be. We thought fundamentally he had got to a point where in his releases and his vertical push and his variation in speed, he had just grown to a level. If we can finally get on the same page with some of this stuff, he's going to be more complete as a route runner. And now that's what you're starting to see. The top of his breaks are so much better, so much cleaner. His release points and being able to get his shoulders dipped and then getting back stacked. He's really worked hard on it in the offseason, training camp, and now it's starting to show up. And because of that, he can go into the backside by himself and run single routes. He still can go to the front side, be outside 2 or 3, and get over the top or run, like you saw in the game, the dig concepts where we now feel really good about him at the top of the route. One of the details is how friendly he is and making sure he's not leaking down the field to create a lane for the defender to come underneath. So those things are fundamentally sound that he's gotten a lot better at. And because of that, it's what he talks about now. He does have a larger route tree. And because of that, it allows our other guys to get more involved in what they do as well.
Scottie, Jahmyr was Offensive Player of the Week this week in the NFC. I mean, award aside, you know him well. What can you just tell us about his development, this year, and then bouncing back from the game that he had? I know he took that one, and he wanted to have a big performance.
The one thing about him is that he is a guy that is just football. He doesn't do a whole lot of other things. He might like video games, but you're not going to see him out. You're going to always see him in his hoodie. But one thing inside of that hoodie is that he has a tremendous amount of pride in his performance. I had no doubt the kind of game he was going to come back and have. His demeanor in practice was a very, very serious demeanor. He doesn't usually say much, but it was just a certain level of intensity that had been brought back by not doing what he expected to do in that game. The one thing that I really say about him is his ability to cut is continuing to get better. So he's starting to understand now these vertical cuts, when to put his foot in the ground. His vision has always been great. This guy's super talented, and he's gifted. But, the long run he had, if you watch it, he's waiting on blocks to set up. He knows exactly what he's doing. He can feel the outside presence of the corner and knowing when to hit it. So he's just doing a really, really good job. The game, has probably always been pretty slow for a guy that runs that fast. But now the cerebral part of it, he's starting to play it at a different level. So just love where he is, especially in some of those tight area runs that people are not talking about. One of his better 2 or 3 runs in this game were 3-yard gains, 4-yard gains, where, earlier in his career, those would have been TFLs because he would have tried to spin out of it, reverse field, maybe lose 4 yards. This week, he put his shoulder down, stayed tight to the double team, maybe got 3 or 4 yards off of it. Now we're in a 2nd and 6 situation. Now we got the playbook back. We can go right back to him if we need to.
Scottie, what do you think of the Eagles secondary and the challenges of matching up against Vic Fangio?
So this is the most talented defense that we'll see from top to bottom. I really think their level of talent is truly elite, not just in their front, their linebackers, in the secondary. The corner play is exceptional. I think they proved how sticky they could be just a couple of nights ago. They did a really, really good job. Safety play is great. They can feel the run. At the nickel position, Coop. I mean, they got a lot of guys that can play. We look forward to the challenge, man. We know that this is going to be a game in a great environment where this is exactly what we love to be in. I know this is what they've been through. They've won a lot of games, not only because of their talent level, but the scheme. Coach is just great at what he does. And then the environment, so that's a 3-pronged spirit right there. That's pretty, pretty impressive. But talent level, definitely the most talented group that we've seen. They're sticky, they're physical. They jam you at the line of scrimmage. They can play zone coverage. When it does get to 3rd down, they're sticky enough to play man. So, he has a lot of weapons.
Scottie, back to
rhythm heading into last week, establishing the rhythm. How much is that connected to the play action game, which it seemed like you guys were able to access a lot more, especially I think 17 of
Yeah, so
33 dropbacks for play action.
yeah, so I agree. I think what it's really connected to is our run game. I think everything is set up with our run game. When you can get backers off the spot, whether they're going over the top or falling back, we can start to utilize our run action pass completely different because our run game, it just really, really stresses everybody, especially if you got plus down safeties trying to get into the box. Now we can wrap those guys with Saint and the other guys, and our guys so good at running out the catch presents a huge, huge problem. And then, in the run action pass game as well, like you said, run game leads to the run action pass game, which, if we're running the football and we're in run action pass, they can't just pin their ears back. They do have to defend their gaps. And then now that starts to open up other parts of our game.
Scottie, back to Jah for a second. He became just the 5th player in NFL history to have 40 touchdowns before the age of 24, and the others are Jim Brown, Emmitt Smith, Barry, and Randy Moss. Do you ever pause to consider where he might be when it's all said and done in his career and kind of where he could stand in this game?
No, not really, man. He came into the league at like 15 years old. So he's been playing for 10 years. He's got an advantage over those guys. Nah. Every now and then I'll pinch myself in the game when he makes a play. But to even look out and for him to look out to where he could be, we're in the moment right now. Like, a lot of you guys have been around, things that are going on in your life, and when you move 10, 15 years, you'll look back at it like, wow. Right now, it's just good to be around great players. I think about Saint. I think about some of the things that he's been able to accomplish at his age, and then now you think about Jahmyr. Man, really, really proud. Of those guys and happy for them, but really haven't had the chance. It's kind of hard right now to think about where they're going to be. We just really want to make sure that at the end of this season we know where we want to be, and that's kind of where we're thinking about right now.
Was there a play from Sunday's game that made you pinch yourself at just kind of what he was able to pull off?
Nah, he didn't do anything that spectacular this week.